The fallout from these impending documents being released is already getting pretty bad. The pressure is on, and some of the individuals named in the already released files are getting pressure to resign, to apologize. Guys, this is going to be huge, provided that Pam Bondi releases these files and does so in a timely manner. Now, let me bring you to this. Larry Summers, former Treasury Secretary to Bill Clinton, he was named in these files. I believe these were some files that were released last week whenever the Democrats were saying that Donald Trump was named all these times in these emails. But his name came up in some of these files. And let me just say, it does not look good for the former Treasury Secretary of Bill Clinton. It's gotten so bad that he addressed his class at Harvard and he apologized for what he did with Epstein. And if you want to know what he did with Epstein, there were some things that had to do with a younger colleague of his that he asked Epstein for advice over. And also, he considered Jeffrey Epstein to be a wingman or vice versa. I don't exactly remember what it was. One of them was the wingman to the other. Either way, it doesn't look good at all. But here is Larry Summers, former Treasury Secretary to Bill Clinton, remember, opening his class by addressing the shame he feels because of what he did with Epstein. Quote, he says, "Some of you will have seen my statement of regret expressing shame with respect to what I did in communication with Mr. Epstein." This is what he had to say. This is a live view from inside the classroom taken by a student. This must have been released on TikTok because this is how it was headlined. How Larry Summers opened class today. POV, your Harvard professor opens class by recognizing he's in the Epstein files, followed by 2 vomit emojis. Take a listen to this.
Some of you will have seen my statement of regret, expressing my shame with respect to what I did in communication with Mr. Epstein, and that I've said that I'm going to step back from public activities for a time, but I think it's very important to fulfill my teaching obligations. And so, with your permission, we're going to go forward and talk about the material in the class.
So the pressure is on. It's just going to get worse, guys, I'm afraid. And I'm absolutely giddy over all of this information because these people need to be exposed. The American people are fed up with the elites in our society getting away with this kind of stuff. This is not how politics is supposed to operate. It doesn't matter if it's our intelligence agencies, if this is an individual that had blackmail on prominent people, or they worked with, or Jeffrey Epstein worked with Israel. It doesn't matter. This has to stop, and this has to stop now, which is why it's very interesting, kind of the shift that you can kind of feel happening here. This Epstein file release bill was voted on 427-1 in the House of Representatives, and it was unanimous in the Senate. And now Attorney General Pam Bondi says that there is new information. It just popped up out of thin air. Remember when she said there was nothing else to see here? Remember that? Remember when she released the so-called Epstein files and binders to influencers? And this was supposed to placate everyone that was interested in this whole situation. And it turned out that all of that information contained in those binders, all of that was already public knowledge. But now, after all of that, Pam Bondi is now saying that there's, quote, new information and additional information on Epstein. And this directly contradicts the Department of Justice's claim that no further investigation was needed. She said that in the past. Now, take a look at this. This was asked at a press conference to Pam Bondi and the DOJ. Of course, she's got Todd Blanche standing there to her right. This is what Pam Bondi had to say about the impending Epstein files release. Take a listen.
By the Southern District of New York U.S. Attorney prevent the department from releasing all of the remaining files?
So we have released over 33,000 Epstein documents to the Hill, and we'll continue to follow the law and to have maximum transparency. Also, we will always encourage all victims to come forward.
What are the next steps, Madam Attorney General, for the DOJ regarding what we assume President Trump will sign into law with the Epstein files? Is this going to be on the Justice Department website? What are you doing here over the next 30 days, as we understand it?
We will continue to follow the law with maximum transparency while protecting victims.
Yeah.
When you say follow the law, Madam Attorney General, do you mean that you will provide all the files by 30 days?
We will follow the law. The law passed both chambers last evening. It has not.
I've just got to interrupt this right here. Okay. Pam Bondi, the reporter is clearly asking, what exactly do you mean by follow the law? That could be interpreted in many different ways, and it seems like you are being intentionally evasive of getting to the point of what exactly following the law means, because this is a very touchy subject, these Epstein files. Everyone knows. We saw the pushback against the vote. We saw certain members of our government trying very hard for this not to be a reality. And now that it has become a stark reality to this administration, as much as I love this administration, now it's their baby. And Pam Bondi, I believe, is being purposely evasive here. She doesn't want to give any concrete answers as to what she's doing, because last time, she said that she had the Epstein files on her desk, and then she said that there was nothing else to see here or whatever she said. She got herself into a little bit of a pickle. So I think that might be informing her on how to answer these questions right here. Let's continue.
Not yet been signed, but we will continue to follow the law, again, while protecting victims, but also providing maximum transparency.
Madam Attorney General, the DOJ statement earlier this year saying that the files would not release mentioned the fact that the review of the documents and the evidence did not suggest that any additional investigation of third parties was warranted. What changed since then that you launched this investigation?
Information that has come for information. There's information new information, additional information, and
we have additional information. Ladies and gentlemen, just like that, House of Representatives and the Senate, they vote, and poof, like magic, there is additional information. Now, would you look at that? Just look at it.
Again, we will continue to follow the law, to investigate any leads. If there are any victims, we encourage all victims to come forward, and we will continue to provide maximum transparency under the law.
On Ryan Wedding, Madam General. On Ryan Wedding, you mentioned.
Madam Attorney General, the issue with the new information that you just indicated, is the department seeking information perhaps from the Epstein estate, because Mr. Blanche did not have that information when he interviewed Ghislaine Maxwell? What new information? And would you limit the new investigation to just those named persons that the president talked about, or is this a broad, open-ended investigation?
I would refer to the Deputy Attorney General's post that he put out on X, and we're not going to say anything else on that because now it is a pending investigation in the Southern District of New York.
So I'm not sure this necessarily bodes too well for the release of the documents. I'm not exactly sure what this means. I do know that in the language of the bill that was passed unanimously by the Senate, and then, of course, there was just one vote, Representative Clay Higgins, that voted against it in the House of Representatives. But in that bill, it did say that the DOJ could use their discretion on what to release as far as it concerned national security. Now, what exactly does that mean? We're dealing with the measure, or we're dealing with a matter of national security? So is that in a roundabout way saying that Jeffrey Epstein was, in fact, an intelligence agent? Was he an intelligence operative? I mean, I'm sure we all have already answered this question in our heads. I'm sure it's true. And I'm sure, yes, he had some connections to a foreign country, a certain foreign country that a lot of people on the right tend to be very touchy about. But I'm really hoping that this pressures a lot more of this. Yes, Larry Summers is being investigated. Harvard opens new investigation into Larry Summers' ties to Epstein. And I would like to echo what Thomas Massey said about your interpreting as to whether or not these files are going to be successful in what they are supposed to do. And he said, you'll know that they're going to be successful. You'll know that they're successful when there are billionaires, rich people being perp walk in handcuffs. But this is a good start. I'm really liking this. Former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, a prominent economist and public intellectual, is facing renewed scrutiny over his ties to deceased PDF file Jeffrey Epstein. After new emails provided a window into the depth of their friendship, Harvard opened a fresh investigation into Summers, first reported by Harvard Crimson after lawmakers released a trove of documents which included emails Epstein exchanged with Summers, in which the former Harvard president and economics professor asks Epstein for advice on seducing a younger female economist. The email continued until Epstein's arrest, or the emails continued until Epstein's arrest in 2019 on federal sex trafficking charges. Summers is also being investigated by the Trump's Justice Department and stepped down from the board of OpenAI Wednesday. Now, this is the type of cancellations that I like to see. I always rave against canceling people. But when it comes to something like Jeffrey Epstein, I am pro cancellation, okay? I'm just going to admit it. If you're talking, if you're speaking out, speaking to the public, you know, expressing certain ideas and talking to different people, like maybe, I don't know, Tucker Carlson, and your ideas might be objectionable. That's the kind of cancellations I'm against. But there is a certain type of cancellation I am for, and it's for people like Summers, this professor at Harvard who was palling around with Jeffrey Epstein, notorious PDF file, an all-around disgusting person, probably an intelligence asset. That's the kind of cancellation that I am okay with. Earlier this week, Summers released an apology for his conduct and said he is stepping down from public commitments. Summers' affiliations with the Center for American Progress, a liberal think tank, in the New York Times opinion section also appeared to have been terminated. Quote, "I am deeply ashamed of my actions and recognize the pain they have caused. I take full responsibility for my misguided decision to continue communicating with Mr. Epstein," Summers said. So, yes, he is extremely sorry. And of course, the fact that this just went public has nothing to do with it. He's just sorry, right? This is the kind of grace that these rich, entitled people are shown. You know, instead of really having any sort of real consequences, they are pushed to issue an apology, and that's pretty much all that comes out of it. The Harvard Crimson first reported on Summers' lengthy correspondence with Epstein on his attempts to seduce a female mentee. Summers and Epstein texted and emailed regularly from November 2018 to July 2019 about Summers' pursuit of the woman. Epstein regularly gave Summers advice on how he should communicate with a younger female economist. At one point, Epstein called himself Summers' wingman during their correspondence. Summers had been married since 2005. The correspondence occurred long after Epstein's 2008 conviction on state-level sex crimes charged in Florida. So Epstein was Summers' so-called wingman. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am really hoping to see more of this, and I hope Pam Bondi releases these files stat. Like I said, the language she used in that press conference really doesn't give me a whole lot of hope. I'm hoping we don't see a lot of redactions, aka censorship of these files, because I think we all can really glean just exactly why there would be redactions in the files, and it really has nothing to do with national security. What it really has, I think, is exposing our political system and how it really works. And they don't want people to lose faith in the government and all these other things, which in all reality, I believe that people have a pretty low opinion of government officials in general. I mean, you just kind of look at the state of the country right now. Things are just being ripped apart. And we need to have a reckoning. And I believe that this is a good chance to have this reckoning. I want to see these people that are named in the files not redacted for national security concerns. I want to see them perp walk on CNN, yes, and MSNBC and Fox News. I want to see them get some prison time. That's what I want to see. I don't want to just see them lose their job or lose their assignments or lose their board seat, issue an apology, and be embarrassed. No. I want to see some real consequences, and that would, I believe, actually lead to some real change in how our political system operates. But what do you think? What do you think is going to happen with these Epstein files? Is Pam Bondi going to delay the release? Is she going to redact a bunch of stuff for national security concerns? Let me know your opinion down below in the comments. Like and subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. But until then, I will see you on the next one.